Hey everyone, my name is Ryan and I just finished my first year of vet school at the University of Melbourne. So as you can see from my shirt and from my background, I'm finally back on the sunny island of Singapore. Party hard! So to celebrate this special occasion, I would like to share with you guys today on how I studied during my first year of vet school. So these studying techniques that I've employed actually allowed me to study at vet school within a shorter period of time, hence giving me more time to hang out with my friends, to make YouTube videos, and to also take on some additional roles at vet school. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So I'll first share with you guys on what you should do after watching a lecture video for the first time. So a day or two after watching a lecture video, I actually like to sit down and review my slides again. When I review my slides, I don't actually skim through them. What I like to do is to actually look at the title of each slide first, and then try to recall as much information as I can. And once I've recalled the information in my head, what I like to do is to look at the remainder of the slides to see what I have missed out, and to also identify some concepts that I am unfamiliar with. So once you have identified the concepts that you are not sure about, what you should do is to actually refer to the recommended textbooks or to look at the detailed notes that some lecturers give. And if you are still unsure about it, what I recommend you guys to do is to actually email your professors to get them to explain to you these concepts. So what I'll usually like to do as I'm going through this process is to also actually create some questions for myself to answer later on, and to also take note of the main concepts that the lecturer is actually covering. After 3 days, you should actually come back to that same lecture again. However, if you don't really have much time, what you can do is to actually revisit it a week later. This time round, I would like you guys to start off your revision by actually attempting the questions that you have set for yourself earlier on first. And once you're done with answering those questions, review the slides again, and while you're reviewing those slides, look back at your answers and see which concepts you are actually unfamiliar with, and to also identify any misconceptions that you may have. Once you have identified the concept that you are unfamiliar with, make a note somewhere and revisit that same concept again a few days later. You definitely need to make a schedule for this. So what I like to do is to actually create a retrospective timetable using an Excel sheet, where I actually keep track of my revision progress, as well as the concepts that I am unfamiliar with and should revisit again in a few days' time. So feel free to use any other software that you're familiar with to create this schedule. For example, you could perhaps use Notion. So what happens if the exams are coming up and you don't have time? Well, I usually save time by not creating the questions when I'm reviewing them for the first time. So instead, what I like to do is to actually refer to the learning outcomes. I'll usually use them as questions instead. So these learning outcomes are usually very brief. However, it's much better than not having any questions for you to revise at all. If you have enjoyed my video so far, do remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and ring that notification bell. Next, I would like to talk about practicing. Practicing is really important because it allows your brain to make the connections between the different concepts that you've learned, while also allowing you to apply what you have learned into a real life setting. Unfortunately, the field of veterinary medicine is not like human medicine in the sense that you don't have question banks online for you to practice on. Hence, the few practice questions that we receive from our professors are really precious, and we should make full use of them. Here's how I make full use of my practice questions. Firstly, don't do all of your practice questions at once in one go. So what you should do is to actually attempt a few questions a day. Secondly, make sure the questions that you attempt for the day do not repeatedly test on the exact same concept over and over again. The maximum repetition that I can usually tolerate is about 3 or 4 questions of the same type. Make sure the questions that you attempt test on different concepts and that the question types are distinct and they vary. Before the exam, revisit all of the questions that you have attempted in the past to identify the concepts that you are unfamiliar with, as well as any misconceptions that you have. So once you have identified them, go back to your lectures and revisit these concepts again, and do your best to understand them. So it is likely that my studying techniques will continue to change and evolve over time. However, I hope that this video will at least give those that are planning to start vet school next year, as well as those that are planning to start a university course soon, a basic idea on how you should study in university. I hope this video will help you guys out and will benefit you guys greatly, and I hope to see you all in future videos ahead. Peace.